So that's good as that one got. And then I got into Bezier Curve. I guess how to pronounce it. It's a word I've read 100 times but have never said until today. Bezier curves. Now this is something that Mr. Trahan, my algebra teacher in middle school, would not believe I would ever be able to do. I got a D- in high school algebra. It's as far as I made it. I was terrible at math. I hated it. It made me cry. And he gave me a D- just so he wouldn't have to see me again. And you know, math wasn't fun, and I just didn't get it. Well, here I am many years later, and okay, I know more stuff and I have more life experience, but now I'm figuring out how to deal with Bezier curves, which I promise you I'd never seen before. And it was fun, and I did it, and Mr. Trahan, you know, probably wouldn't believe any of this was happening, and neither do I. So I can draw a curve on the screen. I learned how to do that in BASIC with the help of some friends who are way better at math than I am. And then I went, oh, well, why don't we just put this on the screen? I could put it on paper. Plotters are fun. And there's a plotter available for the Atari, and so I figured out how to put it down on paper. So that was neat. Let's see, here is an SVG file. This is a maze. This is a triangular maze that I downloaded from a website that generates mazes. So you can see, I don't know how much into it we need to get, but basically you need to draw lines, and then there's polylines, which is basically a line that connects to another line. And that's how they did the maze. And I think if you were here a couple minutes before the talk, you can see what that kind of maze looks like. So the problem, my biggest issue in doing this wasn't the math or the graphics, really. It was parsing. It was the parsing of the text file. That was surprising to me the most complicated bit. Just Atari Basic Excel isn't super strong in dealing with strings. So I've got this, you know, huge long string that might be, you know, a couple of K of this sort of garbage, and then I had to look for the end of the line, and then let's figure out, okay, you know, it says it's supposed to be a line, you know, so I've got to find that command, and I need X1 and I need Y1, and then I need to take this number, and then I need to convert it to a float, and so just parsing out all these little bits. And some of the other commands, like the Bezier curves, are pretty complicated, and some of them can just go on for forever with, like, here's a line to another line to another line to another line. And so that was surprisingly the hard thing. 4 a.m. named the program. Or rather, he suggested the name for the program. And also suggested a license, which I used, and it's free for you to convert to the Apple II. It was written up on Hackaday. That was neat. And it's up on GitHub, where you can download it. Now I started converting it to Apple, and I think I've got some screenshots of that in a second. Here, I started putting it, like I said, into Blankenship Basic. Frankly, I'm done. I've done this. It was fun. I started converting it for Kansasfest. It didn't get done. So I leave it to you. If you think this is interesting, run with it. I can give you what I've done so far. So SVGs are fun. I mean, there's all these generators and things out there. You can make mazes, and you can make flowers, and the weird polygon things, and the flags I told you about. And there's all these things out there that you can render and draw and play with. But this whole thing led me into the rabbit hole of #plotter Twitter, which is my favorite thing. Absolute favorite thing. Now, I mentioned my Atari plotter before, and it's a tiny plotter. But you know, plotters are devices that have been used in business, you know, going back to the 60s, I think. And some of them are huge, you know, giant color things, and basically like printers, but instead of printing, like you know how a printer works, they have pens. And they have pens of different colors, and the plotter might literally go over there, grab a red pen, and draw it on a big piece of paper, just like a baby would with a crayon, and then go back and get a green, pen and do it again. And then you can make beautiful art. And these are just some things I grabbed off of Twitter today. Now, there was a plotter, at least one plotter made by Apple for the Apple II, and I want to see way more plotters at Kansasfest next year. And these things are usually plotted from SVG files. Not always. Paul Rickards is one of my favorite plotter artists. This is a little bit of the code in my program. Endif, 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 endif. Put that on my gravestone, because we're all dying. Some of us are just dying faster than others. So, let's see. Anything else I need to tell you? No, that's basically it. I had fun with this project, and you can too, if you are so inclined. I want to give you just a sample of how slow it is. I think probably over time by now. But here, we'll take that Cook Islands flag that I showed you before. Actually, we'll do the Antic logo, because that's fun. When you run the program, you give it the file name, and then a scale factor. Basically, it can scale things down. Because a lot of these files, believe it or not, are intended for a larger canvas than 320 by 192. So you can choose to scale them down. And then do you want to go to the plotter, the screen, or both? And do you want the debug window? We'll keep it off for now. And you can watch. First, it takes a second to load the file in. It's got to read the text file in. We're gonna skip past that a little bit, because reading in this file is painfully slow. And then, okay, now you can see, every little line is just killing this machine. It's just like, but it's all parsing. That's the slow part. It's just figuring out what this SVG file means. Now, I'll turn off the speed limiter and turn it to the world's fastest Atari. And it's still pretty slow. I don't know. Lots of megahertz. So there you are.
How does it decide on the order in which it draws the characters?
It does exactly what is in the file. It just parses the file from beginning to end. So it really depends on how it was put into the file.
This file, right?
Someone created it for me.
Oh, you did.
I did not create this file. Yeah. Any other questions? Ken.
You said one of your samples took like 230 seconds to render.
Yes.
Were you doing that in real time, or was it sped up like this? Because I'm wondering, what did you do for those 3 minutes?
When I was testing, I would turn off the speed limiter, let it run fast, but then the second count was still accurate because the clock was going faster. So but I made a lot of cups of tea and took the dogs for walks and things for some of these, for sure. Is a question for Charles?